Hi guys, it's Surya, and today I will be posting a shorter tutorial of the mirror cube. So the previous tutorial I posted was 30 minutes long, too long. So this video will only have the algorithms for the mirror cube and have very little explanation. So I hope you enjoy the video. So doing the first layer is probably the most tricky, and you can see why. There's like so many different sizes of the pieces. They're all the same color and it's so shiny. So when doing this, it's usually a good trick to just choose the thinnest side or the thickest side. So I'm just going to use this cube for reference. So when picking a side like this, one can always get confused between all the sizes because it's neither the smallest nor the largest. But when picking something this thin or this thick, the chances of getting confused are very low since it's really thin. Which is why I'm going to be picking the thinnest sides of all. It's usually pretty helpful for me. So instead of searching for the right center, which can be difficult and tedious, you pick the right edge first and then compare it to all the centers. So we have one edge over here. So let's just compare it to all the centers. So it doesn't match with this, which means this is not the one. It doesn't match with this, doesn't match with this, and doesn't match with this, which means it's either this or this. So now let's just change its direction and compare it with the other two. It doesn't match with this, which means it has to match with this one. So we have one edge in place. Now you should also make sure that these lines are pointing in the same direction. I mean, when I point light like this, you can see these lines going around like this. So you can see that the center is horizontal, but the edge is vertical. I don't know how clear that is. Hang on. Yeah, there. So it's in different directions. So you need to change that. So if this first piece is in the wrong direction, you just bring this down, move the side clockwise once, and bring this back. So that aligns it. Now let's just do the same for the rest of the edges. This edge, it seems to be the thinnest, so it needs to go in one of these three places. So there's no specific algorithm for these things. You just try to bring 4 pieces. So here we have 4. Now sometimes you can get edges in the wrong places like this, and you can tell by the fact that it matches on only one side. This edge matches over here but not here. There's like this slight change, and the same is for this. It matches only here, and if you look closely, even the texture is not the same, which means that this piece needs to go there and that piece needs to go there. We know that because the other two are in their right places, and this one is also in its right place. So we bring this piece onto the bottom layer and we bring it under where it needs to go. We know that it needs to go here because this matches, and now we move this side twice. So that brings this in the right place and removes the other piece. So now we can put the piece where it belongs. So now we have finished the cross. Now we can go on to the corners. So we have one corner here. We know that because it's really thin. Now let's just check where it needs to go. So it can't go in here because it won't match. And it can't go here or here because this side is really thin, which means that it has to go here. We can see that it matches. So let's bring this to the side, bring this down, bring this back, and bring it up. That solves one piece. Let's go on to the second. Now we have one more here, and because of how thin it is, it has to go here or here. It can't go here because it doesn't match properly, which means that it has to go right here. So first we bring it under where it needs to go. It's already under for me. And now we bring this side down and move this layer twice. So that removes it from the bottom layer. And now we can solve it in the normal way. Bring this to the side, bring this down, bring this back, and bring it up. So that solves this piece as well. Let's go on to the next. This is also really tiny, which means that it can go here or here. This one already matches, so this goes here. Let's bring this to this side, bring this down, bring this back, and bring it up. So now there's only one piece left, and it's over here, right under where it needs to go. And we do exactly what we did earlier. Bring this side down and move the bottom layer twice. So that brings it out of the bottom layer. Now we bring it in front of where it needs to go. Bring this to the side, bring this down, bring this back, and bring it up. So that's the end of the first layer. So even though we're done with the first layer, we do have a small step that we need to do before going on to the second layer, and that's aligning these centers. So doing that is not very difficult. We just need to check the textures. So if we like point it against some light or something, we can see the lines. So this one's aligned. These lines are horizontal, and so is the centers. These are also horizontal. Now these are horizontal, but this center's lines are vertical. So we need to change that. So this needs to rotate by 90 degrees without damaging this. So for that, we move this side twice and move the bottom layer twice to bring these three pieces out of the way. And now that there's no pieces from the first layer here, we can just rotate this by 90 degrees to fix it. Now we move the bottom layer twice again, and we move this twice once again. So this also needs to rotate by 90 degrees. So we hold it in front of us, move this side twice, move the bottom layer twice, move this side twice again. Oh no, move it only once, sorry. And move the side twice, and move the side twice. So that fixes it. Now we can go on to doing the second layer. So the second layer is probably the least tricky stage. So to find one piece that goes into one of these places, we just need to find a piece from this top layer that does not match with this center and matches with one of these four centers. That way we know it's not from the top layer. So none of the pieces over here match with this top layer, which means they could all potentially be pieces from the second layer. So first let's check this. This does not match with this, does not match with this, does not match with this, and does not match with this, which means that this is a piece from the last layer. Let's go on to this. This does not match with the top layer, but it does not match with any of the four centers either, which means that this too must be from the top layer. So this is a pretty tiny piece, which means it has to be from the top, from one of these middle layer pieces. And sure enough, if we see that it matches with this piece, with the center. So now if we just twist this to the side, we see that it needs to move to the right over here. So this piece needs to move to the right. We do the same algorithm as we would in the 3x3. Up clockwise, right side clockwise, up anti-clockwise, right side anti-clockwise, up anti-clockwise, front anti-clockwise, up clockwise, and right side clockwise. So that solves this piece. Let's move on to the next one. This piece also looks pretty tiny, and it matches with this side. No, it doesn't. It matches with this side. So this piece does not need to go to the right side, but it needs to go to the left side. It matches here. So we do the same algorithm as we would do in the 3x3. Up anti-clockwise, left side anti-clockwise, up clockwise, left clockwise, up clockwise, front clockwise, up anti-clockwise, front anti-clockwise. So that solves these two pieces. Now let's go on to the last two. Now we see that these two pieces can't be from the second layer. This piece is also not from the second layer. This piece seems really big, so it does not look like it could be from the second layer, and it isn't. So none of these four are from the second layer, which means that these two pieces have probably exchanged places. Either way, we need to remove them from that place. And we do that by placing another piece in. So we pretend that this piece needs to go there, and we do the same algorithm as we did before. And this piece has come out. And if we see that it matches here, which means that this piece either goes here or here. And it matches here, which means that the piece that was here has to go here. Now this piece has to go to the left, and we do the same algorithm as we did earlier. And now this piece is in the right place and it has removed the other piece. So this piece can now go here. Doesn't match here and does not match here. It does match here, sorry. So this obviously goes there because there's no other place for it to go. And that's the end of the second layer. So if we cover up this part, we can see that the cube looks solved. So now we can go on to the third and last layer. So to solve the last layer, we first need to solve the yellow cross. And when I say yellow, I just mean the last layer because, in a 3x3, it's yellow. So I'm used to that. So first let's solve these pieces. And now we have this situation called a dot where only the center is up. None of the edges are up. Just cover up the corners. We can ignore those for now. So in this situation, you go to any side you want and you do this algorithm. Front clockwise, right side clockwise, up clockwise, right side anti-clockwise, up anti-clockwise, and front anti-clockwise. So that brings us to our next situation, which two adjacent edges up, called the hook. In this situation, we just hold it like this, with one of the edges facing us and the other one facing the right side, and we do the exact same algorithm. So that brings us to the next situation, the bar, with two opposite edges up. So here we hold this bar horizontal with one edge to the right and one edge to the left, and we do the same algorithm. So that solves the yellow cross, and now we can go on to solving the yellow corners. Now, in order to solve all four yellow corners, we need to get to a situation called the fish, which kind of looks like this, with only one corner up. I mean, it doesn't really look like a fish here, but it looks like a fish in 3x3, which is why it's called a fish. So this is probably the simplest situation. I mean, it's the second simplest. The simplest would be where all the corners are solved. But yeah, so in this situation, you just keep the nose of the fish, which is the one corner, on the bottom left, and you do this algorithm. Right side clockwise, up clockwise, right side anti-clockwise, up clockwise again, right side clockwise, up clockwise twice, and right side anti-clockwise. So this usually solves all the corners, but sometimes it can take you back to the fish. So in this situation, you just do it again. So that's how you solve it. Now let's just go over some other situations. So the first one we can get is a cross, just a cross, nothing else. It's where none of the corners are up and they're all to the side. So in this situation, we first need to find a side with no yellow pieces in it. So here we can just do that by rotating the piece upwards and seeing if it matches with this layer. So if we do it on this side, we see that this piece matches and this piece matches as well, which means that this is a yellow here and a yellow here. If we check here, this does not match and this does not match, which means that this has no yellows on it, which means that we can do the algorithm here. And here we get the fish, and you know what to do from here. We keep the nose of the fish on the bottom left, and we do the algorithm again. So another situation would be where you have two adjacent yellow pieces facing up. So in this situation, you just keep both the pieces on your right and you just do the algorithm. So that either brings you to the cross or the fish. If you've reached the cross, then you just go where there's no yellow. You can always check by just comparing the pieces to the last layer. So there's no yellow here. So you do the algorithm. So that brings you to the fish, and once you get to the fish, you just keep this piece on the bottom left and do the algorithm again. And that's how you solve the last layer. There are other situations which you can get, but I've explained those in detail in my other videos. The links to them are in the description below. You should check them out. Now let's go on to rearranging the pieces of the last layer. So when rearranging these pieces, we first need to rearrange the corners and then the edges. So to rearrange the corners, we first need to see if any of them already match. So in this case, you can see that none of them match. These two don't match. These two don't match. These two don't match. And these two don't match. So that's fine. When you get this, you can just go on any side you want and do this algorithm. Right side anti-clockwise, front clockwise, right side anti-clockwise, back anti-clockwise twice, right side clockwise, front anti-clockwise, right side anti-clockwise, back anti-clockwise twice, and right side clockwise twice. So that gets two of the corners to match. So you can see that these two match now. So when you have this, you just bring them to the side where they match, here in this case, and you go to the side opposite to them. Now you can see that these two need to be exchanged, and you do the algorithm to exchange them, which is the same one as I did before. So now all the corners have been fixed. We can see that because they all match. Now let's go on to rearranging the edges. So when trying to solve the edges, you can have a situation where none of them match, and that's fine. In this situation, you just go wherever you want and you do this algorithm. Front clockwise twice, up clockwise, right side anti-clockwise, left side clockwise, front clockwise twice, right side clockwise, left side anti-clockwise, up clockwise again, and front clockwise twice. That solves one of the sides, and once you have this situation, you just go to the side opposite to this solved side and you repeat the algorithm. Front clockwise twice, up clockwise, but you need to make sure that this piece matches with this. Right side anti-clockwise, left side clockwise, front clockwise twice, right clockwise, left anti-clockwise, up clockwise, and front clockwise twice. Now in doing this algorithm, you have to be careful of one thing. Now once you move the front clockwise twice, you need to move this upside in a direction where the edge matches the center. So moving the up clockwise does not always work. Sometimes it doesn't match. So in this situation, you move up anti-clockwise. So in this situation, it would be front clockwise twice, up anti-clockwise, right side anti-clockwise, left clockwise, front clockwise twice, right side clockwise, left side anti-clockwise, up anti-clockwise, and front clockwise twice. Well, congratulations, you've solved the mirror cube.